guys, Ace Liam here. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome back to another episode of Pokémon WTF Moments, the series where I critique the Pokémon anime to distract myself from the fact that my mental health is just rubbish lately. It sucks. If you're a fan of WTF Moments and you are ready for more, make sure you hit that like button. Let's go for an easy goal of what? 1,000 likes on this video. Hit subscribe if you're new so you never miss an episode, and of course share this video with a friend. It would really help me out. But without further ado, let's have a look at all the WTF moments for Pokemon Season 1 episode 35, and this is one of the banned episodes, so it starts messing up my numbering scheme, so things are all going to be out of sync. The Legend of Dratini. Now, for those not familiar with this episode, that'll be because it never aired in the West. There isn't a Western dubbed version of this episode because of the amount of firearms pointed at characters in this episode. Which is a little bit weird because after watching this series back in 2020, there are a lot of firearms pointed at a lot of characters throughout this series. But I will admit, in this episode, it's really, really overdone. Now, the annoying thing about this episode is because it wasn't dubbed in the West, it means I have to watch it subtitled rather than dubbed. And I'm an uncultured swine, but also I have an excuse of having poor vision and a poor attention span, so I don't normally watch subbed anime, and normally I find watching subbed anime quite boring because I can't focus on the action and the subtitles. I just don't have the capacity for that. So soz all you elitists that think that watching dubbed anime is some kind of crime. It's not. Let people do what the hell they want. But the thing that really worried me was without the Western dub to kind of cock everything up, there wasn't going to be a lot of WTF moments. But given the way this episode plays out, there's a bunch. Now, admittedly, the first WTF moment isn't even the fault of the show or Pokemon whatsoever. It's the fault of whoever took it upon themselves to subtitle this piece of anime. Because they spelled definitely wrong. Mate, you had one job. Ash is happy because they finally made it to the actual, real, 100% legit, definitely proper bona fide Safari Zone. Good job, guys. It only took you 1,000,000 years to get here. Brock's getting annoyed with Ash and Misty singing, so decides to sing himself. Yeah, sure, join in. That'll do the trick. Brock's singing, in turn, pisses off Clint Eastwood over here, and when Ash asks what's wrong with him, he pulls a gun on them and asks them if they want to get shot. Ease up, mate. I know their singing sucked, but putting a bullet in them's a bit of an overreaction, isn't it? Again, to whoever subtitled this, thanks for covering up the Japanese text with the English text. That's really helpful. Good thing I've got no interest in learning how to spell Minino no Densetsu. Also, it's quite obvious I don't know any Japanese, so if I butchered that, I couldn't give a shit. The old man, whose name is Kaiser, hands Ash 30 Safari Balls and a fishing rod, and Ash is understandably excited. He then points his gun at Ash once again and explains that only the Safari Balls and fishing rod can be used in the Safari Zone, otherwise Thunderbolt, aka his revolver, will burn them, aka shoot them. Come on, mate, could you have not said that without the firearm? Whatever happened to customer service? Ash, obviously not familiar with Kaiser's gun's nickname since he just met him, kind of goes, Thunderbolt? And then Kaiser, instead of just saying, points the gun right at Ash's face. He's 10 years old, mate. In what universe do you think it's appropriate to point a gun at a 10-year-old's face? I thought this was a Japanese anime, not an American one. Misty sees a photo of young Kaiser with a Dratini on the wall and proceeds to pull the picture down for a closer look. Misty, mate, this is a guy who literally pointed a gun at a child just for singing. Don't be pulling pictures off his wall. Even if you were in a sane person's house, that wouldn't go down well. Kaiser assures them there is no Dratini in the Safari Zone, and Ash points out that they literally just saw a photo of it. Kaiser's response is, you guessed it, to pull back on the hammer of his revolver in kind of a non-verbal threat. I firmly believe this man should not be running the Safari Zone, especially not alone. Kaiser's trigger happiness makes me wonder just how many trainers are buried in the grounds of the Safari Zone simply because they asked him the wrong questions, or maybe they looked in his direction for too long. In a video call with Ash and the gang, Professor Oak says he knows Kaiser well. Then why haven't you reported him for being a gun-toting maniac? So the reason that Kaiser is so iffy about people knowing about Dratini is because he met Dratini 30 years ago, and because he told people about it, people flocked from far and wide to try and find it themselves. They, of course, absolutely trashed the Safari Zone and captured almost all the other Pokemon, which is why you're now restricted to only using Safari Balls when you visit the Safari Zone. And whilst it is an emotional story, it still doesn't justify pointing a gun at people every 2 seconds, does it? Professor Oak says he understands why people were so eager to catch Dratini, because in his words,
it is a legendary Pokemon.
Hang on, Dratini? A legendary? I thought you were a Pokemon professor?
Well, actually, Liam, I'm pretty sure he said that because the episode is called The Legend of Dratini. Legendary.
Don't care, still not a legendary Pokemon. Pseudo-legendary I would kind of accept, but even then, Dragonite is technically the only pseudo-legendary in that evolution line, but legendary? Sod off. Oak scolds Ash for not sending him many Pokemon lately, and Ash says he'll get a lot here in the Safari Zone. Well, he's not wrong. Team Rocket turn up and are stood on top of the Safari Zone's entrance sign, and Kaiser decides to fire both revolvers at them multiple times because of course that's his reaction. Of course he doesn't give them time to explain, that'd be far too rational. He actually doesn't land a single shot though, so maybe he's not that dangerous.
Well, actually, Liam, he could have just been firing warning shots to scare them down.
Yeah, save that excuse for the homicide report. James grabs Jessie a Meowth and jumps from the sign, revealing that he has a parachute for just such an occasion, but neglects to remember that they're like 20 feet from the ground at best, so they just crash to the floor in a crumpled heap. James, what did you think was gonna happen? Team Rocket say they'll fight Ash fair this time, and if Ash can catch more Pokemon in the Safari Zone than they do, then they'll leave him alone, which seems quite fair, but it's got me a little confused. Is it just Ash versus Jessie and James, or are Misty and Brock included as well? Because Ash, Misty and Brock each got 30 Safari Balls at the start of the episode, which means that if they've got 90 Safari Balls and Jessie and James each have 30, which means they have 60, Ash and co have an unfair advantage. But if it's just Ash versus Jessie and James, then that means that Ash has an unfair disadvantage because he only has 30 Safari Balls to their 60. I'm giving this too much thought. After Ash agrees to the challenge, James points out that if Team Rocket win, they'll get all of Ash's Pokemon, which Ash still agrees to, but then Brock runs in like,
wait, that means Pikachu too.
Is Brock trying to insinuate that Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, and Pidgeotto are all expendable? Ash and Brock are stood in front of a herd of Tauros, and Ash whips out the Pokedex to find out about Tauros, even though we found out all about Tauros from the Pokedex literally 2 episodes ago. This lad's memory's like a sieve. Ash and Brock successfully capture 2 of the Tauros. I'm not surprised that they caught them, I'm just surprised it was that easy. They didn't have to bother with bait or rocks or any of that crap that we had to do back in the day. Misty warns them that there's a limit to the number of Safari Balls that they have, but isn't the point of the contest to try and catch as many Pokemon as possible, so surely they should be trying to catch as many Pokemon as possible. I don't really get Misty's point here. Again, this isn't the show's fault, it's whoever subtitled the episode, but they reckon that Ash says,
I found Rhydon!
when he sees Rhyhorn, even though you can clearly hear the Japanese voice actor for both Ash and Dexter say Saihon, which is Japanese for Rhyhorn. I'm just saying, mate, again, you had one job. Why does every Pokedex entry in this episode have to mention the Pokemon's tackle attack? Do the Pokemon in the Safari Zone not know any other moves? Mate, I'm gonna lose my mind if something knows Pound. Just as Ash throws a Safari Ball to try and catch Rhyhorn, the herd of Tauros runs past again, and one of them gets hit by the ball, and therefore Ash has caught yet another Tauros. Not being funny, mate, but have you ever heard a Tauros stampede? Or for those of you in the real world, have you ever heard a cow stampede or a wildebeest stampede or a buffalo stampede? Those things are fucking loud. You're telling me Ash couldn't hear those Tauros coming and couldn't have waited just a moment for them to run past? Idiot. Patience is a virtue. Somehow Team Rocket have subdued Kaiser and are now holding Thunderbolt to his head. When it comes to guns, Kaiser really talks the talk but can't walk the walk, can he? First he can't even shoot the people he's aiming at, and then he gets captured by 2 people who don't have guns when he has 2. Useless. Jessie asks Kaiser where the legendary Pokémon Dratini is. I'll tell you where it is. It doesn't exist. Dratini's not a legendary. But you know what is legendary? G Fuel! Of course it's G Fuel. You knew it was going to be G Fuel. What a beautiful segue. Oh my lord. This is my favorite flavor, Nemesis Tea, so I'm not even going to bother faffing around. I'm just going to neck it, mate. God, this is the flavor. This is so good. Use code ACE to get money off. And if you order a tub of G Fuel, make sure it's Nemesis Tea. Holy moly, I can't live without this drink anymore. If they ever discontinue this, I will rage because it's the best flavor. God damn it. Nemesis Tea, Nemesis Tea, Nemesis Tea, Nemesis Tea. Code ACE will get you money off. Code ACE, Nemesis Tea. Code ACE, Nemesis Tea. Code ACE. I feel like these ads are getting a little more erratic every time, and I'm living for it. Jessie basically threatens to kill Kaiser if he doesn't tell her where Dratini is. Yeah, I'm definitely starting to understand why they didn't even bother dubbing this in the West. Kaiser gets angry and stands up. Bit weird that he wasn't even tied up. But I know what you're thinking. Oh no, Jessie's got one of the revolvers. She's gonna shoot Kaiser. Nope, she's gonna send out Arbok. Of course she is. Direct quote from Meowth. Well, possibly. I'm trusting the translation here because I genuinely don't speak Japanese.
For an old man, you're easily excited.
Is that an erectile dysfunction joke? In my beloved Christian anime? Jessie says she'll go out with Kaiser if he tells her where Dratini is. Jessie loves dusty old cock. Pass it on. The pretty girl flutters her eyelashes at the old guy and he instantly wants to marry her. Kaiser is a simp. Pass it on. I know he's not meant to, but does Meowth look like Hitler? Team Rocket try and remind Kaiser of his mother to convince him to talk, but to no avail. How would this make him talk? Is it meant to be some kind of implied threat that maybe they'll go to wherever she is and harm her if he doesn't talk? I don't really get it. Like, reminding me of my mum wouldn't make me give up sensitive information. In fact, it'd make me smug as fuck because I'm so much more successful than she ever thought I could be. The bitch. What is this abomination? Why does it exist? And how soon can it go away? It's a tickling machine. A goddamn tickling machine. And it bloody works. After all that, Kaiser just decides to talk because he's being tickled. What an absolute wuss. Just kidding, tickling is absolutely abhorrent, and if you ever try and tickle me, I'm gonna reach my hand down your throat, grab the last vertebrae of your spinal cord and pull it up through your mouth. Misty has a super special fishing lure that looks just like her, even down to the outfit. And am I the only one who finds this a bit weird? Using something that looks like yourself to attract fish? Like, isn't she technically insulting herself by saying she looks like the kind of thing a fish would eat? Of course she hooks a bloody Gyarados. What else would jump at the chance to eat a human? This is why we don't use people-shaped lures, Misty. The line snaps and the Gyarados gets away because nobody thought to throw a Safari Ball. Good job, guys. Way to win the catching contest. Pikachu's as good as gone. Kaiser turns up, still being tickled by the tickling machine, which is weird because surely he should still be being held captive. Why did they let him escape? But regardless, to get him out, Pikachu uses Thunderbolt, the move, not the gun, on the tickling machine. But that also shocks Kaiser. Careful, mate. He's an elderly man. You could kill him. Meanwhile, in Dragon Valley, Jessie sends James and Meowth underwater to try and find Dratini, but it just turns up right in front of her. That's awfully convenient. I guess they should have waited. Also, when people were looking for Dratini 30 years ago, why did they never think to check the Dragon Valley? Jessie, in all her excitement, accidentally steps on the air pipe connected to James and Meowth's diving gear, causing them to be unable to breathe. Do you ever do that? Do you ever get so overjoyed that you almost cause your friends to suffocate? Jessie calmly tries to draw the Dratini over to her when it's literally about 7 feet away. Just throw a Safari Ball! After James and Meowth resurface, desperately gasping for air and scare away Dratini, Jessie has a massive Thrombo at them. It's your fault, love, for not even trying to catch it, and for nearly killing your mates. Meowth has a plan to use a special underwater electric bomb which will knock out all the Pokemon under the water and bring them to the surface. Mate, if it gets you a Poliwag, I'm all for it. Use it now. Use it twice. Just get yourself a Poliwag. Ash and Co turn up and Ash says he's used all of the Safari Balls. We've seen him use 3, if we also count the one that Brock used. Would have been nice to see the other 27 captures. Jessie throws the electric bomb into the lake and Kaiser jumps in after it. But if his swimming is anything like his shooting, I don't think this is going to go so well. What's with this dumbass subtitler and getting all the Pokemon names wrong? Misty clearly calls out Staryu and you've put Starmie. Mate, she definitely starts her sentence with Stade man. If she'd have meant Starmie, do you know what she'd have said? Starmie. It's probably a good thing these errors keep happening because otherwise we wouldn't have half as many WTF moments in this episode. So Staryu takes Kaiser back to the surface while Ash keeps diving down to retrieve the bomb. But that's got me wondering, why didn't Misty send out Starmie? Like, as well as Staryu? Or why didn't Ash send out Squirtle to help him swim back up to the surface? These kids really are dumber than a bag of hammers. Just as Ash runs out of breath and sinks to the bottom of the lake with the electric bomb still in hand, a Dragonair appears and lifts him back up to the surface. Awfully convenient timing, but then it is anime. Dexter activates on its own despite being closed just to explain that Dragonair can fly even though it has no wings. Cheers, Dexter. That was going to be my next question. Ash throws the bomb back at Team Rocket. Listen, I know it was their bomb, but that is still technically attempted murder because they didn't throw the bomb at Ash, they threw it into the lake. So Ash should be locked up. Kaiser recognizes a marking on the Dragonair's horn and realizes this is the very Dratini that he met 30 years ago, who he'd hidden in the lake in Dragon Valley so it could live safely. Now, I was going to mock how convenient it was that the Dratini that Kaiser met was the only one with a significant marking that it carried over through evolution into Dragonair, but honestly, this whole scene is so touching, I'm gonna let it slide. Like, just go and watch this Dragonair crying dude. This shit hits hard. Kaiser then asks Dragonair if the other Dratini are its children, but that's got me wondering about a couple of things. Which Pokemon did Dragonair breed with to make these Dratini? Because the only Pokemon we've seen in the Safari Zone in this episode that shares an egg group with Dragonair is Gyarados, so did Misty fish up the little Dratini's dad earlier?
Well, actually, Liam, we did also see Magikarp, Horsey, Slowpoke, and Poliwag too, and they all share egg groups with Dragonair.
Yeah, but those Pokemon weren't actually there, they were in Team Rocket's vision, so technically we can't confirm that they're in the Safari Zone. And my other question is, how did this Dratini, over 30 years, evolve into Dragonair but not Dragonite? I mean, obviously it's because Dragonite doesn't have a horn, so the convenient marking would be lost during evolution, but I'm talking from a biological sense. Surely, after all these years, this Pokemon should be a Dragonite. So it turns out that all 30 of Ash's Safari Zone captures were Tauros, which he sends somehow all at once to Professor Oak's lab. And for some reason, they all conveniently pop out of their Pokeballs upon arrival. Clearly, the Pokemon transfer machine is broken because stuff like this just shouldn't be happening. It's unsafe. And we end today's episode with the narrator telling us that Ash and the gang may return to the Safari Zone someday. And I'm here, almost 23 years later, to tell you that they just haven't. Ever, lying bastard narrator. So those are my WTF moments for Pokemon Season 1, Episode 35, The Legend of Dratini. Let me know your favourites down in the comments below and any that I missed. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you'd like to support the channel like the beautiful people over there do. Not down here. Pledge to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/AceTrainerLiam. And save yourself money on G Fuel. Use code ACE. But until next time, I'm Ace Trainer Liam. Keep on training.